Hubei epidemic escalates. New graves in mountainous areas are increasing sharply. Beijing train accident update. 515 hospitalized, 102 with fractures, cause under suspicion. Financial collapse in China, rise of the warlords. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Hubei epidemic escalates. New graves in mountainous areas are increasing sharply. The epidemic continues to escalate in China, resulting in overcrowded hospitals in Wuhan and rural clinics in Hubei. Particularly, weather changes since the beginning of winter have led to widespread symptoms of colds and fever. Reports highlight a growing number of deaths among the elderly and instances of sudden death in young children. Mr. Tan, a villager from Badong County, Enchi, Hubei, revealed to NTD television on December 14 that in rural areas, the deceased are buried in the ground, and numerous new graves have been added recently. He mentioned that there have been numerous deaths in his area this year. During this period, the elderly have experienced cerebral infarctions, and funerals are conducted at home. Burying people here doesn't require approval. In his mountainous area, individuals find their own burial spots, deep burying coffins, one in the east, one in the west. There have been dozens of deaths. Over the 3 years of the epidemic, winter and spring have seen more deaths, with the highest number occurring last year. Mr. Su, a villager from Dog County, Xiaogan, Hubei, disclosed that in economically challenged rural areas, there is a lack of funds, they can only go to small clinics. 2 days ago, a 4-year-old died with no known illnesses before. If they had a cold, they would go for an injection, and within a few minutes after the injection, they died. Recently, a distressed mother posted, inquiring about the nature of the virus in Wuhan. She has had a high fever for half a month. Despite numerous hospital visits, no diagnosis was found, and she expressed fear of sudden death if the situation persists. Subsequent comments unveiled the severity of the epidemic in various parts of China, with many children facing recurrent fevers, some schools suspending classes, and others resorting to online learning. Beijing train accident update. 515 hospitalized, 102 with fractures, cause under suspicion. Here is the latest update on the harrowing subway accident in Beijing on December 14. Initially downplaying the severity and reporting around 30 injuries, the CCP officially acknowledged the subway derailment incident on December 15, revealing a total of 515 injuries and 102 fractures, with no reported fatalities. The incident occurred at 18:57 on December 14, involving a rear-end collision between 2 trains on the Chongping line, specifically on the uplink section from Shirki to Life Science Park. As of 6 a.m. on the 15th, 423 people had been discharged, 25 were under observation, and 67 remained hospitalized for treatment. The preliminary investigation by the Beijing Municipal Commission of Transport officially attributed the accident to slippery tracks due to snow, leading to signal downgrading for the front train, emergency braking, and stopping. The rear train, in a downhill section, slid on the snowy track, failed to brake effectively, resulting in a rear-end collision. On the 14th evening, authorities avoided mentioning a train rear end and claimed the cars had disconnected, with the reported injuries aimed at downplaying the incident's severity. Eyewitnesses described the subway collision scene as extremely gruesome, with online videos showing violent collisions and disconnection over 10 meters apart. During rush hour, passengers were thrown out, resulting in distress and severe injuries. However, the latest official report blamed heavy snowfall, prompting sarcastic responses from the public. Some commented, "Stability maintenance is the top priority. How many people are injured is not important, really impressive." An article attributed to Xiang Dongliang points out that, although the cause of the accident is still under investigation, this rare incident has exposed 2 significant issues in the operation of the Beijing subway. Firstly, there is inadequate implementation of train safety inspections, and secondly, there are significant hidden dangers in the emergency response to accidents. The article emphatically rejects blaming such a severe accident on heavy snow disasters. It highlights that on-site pictures reveal the lack of an efficient evacuation of passengers and the absence of precautions for a secondary accident by the Beijing subway after the incident. The scene of the accident reflects a state of almost neglect, indicating an extreme disregard for passenger safety. On the X platform, some netizens also emphasized that even domestic maintenance is reluctant to allocate funds, and the infrastructure relies on a few years of new construction to sustain itself. They point out various disasters resulting from the failure to keep up with maintenance and upkeep, suggesting that funds might be prioritized for overt stability maintenance, with underground maintenance having a lower priority. Financial collapse in China, rise of the warlords. China is currently experiencing the emergence of a second wave of financial crises, marked by the successive collapses of both real estate companies and shadow banks. Growing apprehension surrounds the escalating risks within the banking sector, heightened by the Chinese Communist Party's vigorous efforts to purify the financial landscape, resulting in the downfall of numerous financial executives in recent weeks. Analysts issue a stark warning, indicating that China's economy is precariously poised on the brink, grappling with impending and severe financial turmoil. Should central finances remain elusive for local regions, pushing them to seek independent financial resources, the ominous specter of a scenario reminiscent of the regional separatism during the late Qing dynasty looms large. Massive shadow banking system collapse sparks comprehensive financial crisis. As previously reported, on December 9, Gong Dongji, the head of Huaxiao Bank's Tianjin branch, was confirmed by the police to have died after falling from a building, with speculation suggesting overwhelming stress leading to the tragic death. Commenting on this issue, Ms. Guijun, the chief editor of the Epoch Times, mentioned in the Elite Forum that Huaxiao Bank has an exceptionally high non-performing loan ratio, with visible losses exceeding 40 billion yuan, about $5.65 billion, and the undisclosed losses are unknown. The CCP is currently conducting extensive investigations and purges in the financial sector. According to reporters, as of last week, over 90 financial executives have fallen, with an additional 20 within the past 2 weeks. Corruption in the financial industry cannot be isolated, as managing the fund chain requires cooperation from both upstream and downstream entities and the entire bureaucratic ecosystem. The death of the head of Huaxiao Bank's Tianjin branch might be an attempt to escape responsibility or a forced death to sever a financial link. After his death, the subsequent investigation might be hindered. There is a saying, one investigation, one death. Saving a business, a family, and preserving assets are often the motivations behind this. However, according to Ms. Go Jun, the issues caused by the shadow banking system might be even more significant, and the impact on CCP politics could be more considerable. The shadow banking system comprises non-banking financial institutions, including various wealth management companies, trust companies, and insurance companies. Over the past 2 years, both domestically and internationally, there has been much discussion about the problems with the shadow banking system. Currently, the financial assets of the shadow banking system in mainland China are enormous, accounting for about 70 to 80% of bank assets. The actual situation is unknown, even to central and local governments. The issue now is that while banks have strict regulatory procedures and laws, such as the central bank directly regulating deposit reserves and guiding bank deposit interest rates, the risk management of the banking industry is relatively mature. However, the shadow banking system lacks such supervision, reserves, and regulations regarding the return on investment for trust assets. Most of the funds in the shadow banking system have been invested in real estate and so-called capital operations. The recent 2-year decline in real estate prices and reduced transactions means that much money cannot be recovered. Many wealth management products from trust companies are, in reality, linked to local government projects and land development. Now that local governments have no money, and real estate companies have no money, the probability of these investments being in vain is very high. Capital operations are also in a similar situation. Just look at the A-share market. All the world's stock markets have risen recently, except for China's stock market, reflecting China's economic downturn. Once the economy collapses and companies go bankrupt, these investments will also be in vain. A senior financial professional in China once revealed to NTD television that the high-level CCP intentionally supported P2P platforms, using media outlets and semi-official institutions to promote them. Then, banks packaged bad debts and sold them to P2P platforms. At its peak, there were nearly 5,000 legally registered P2P online lending platforms. The government allowed P2P platforms to package these non-performing assets for financing, selling them to unsuspecting investors. The funds raised ultimately went back to the banks. Now, the financial crisis has effectively shifted to investors, as the collapse of P2P platforms has left many people with nothing. The critical issue is that the funds in the shadow banking system mainly come from China's wealthy class, including the middle class and the country's rich elite. The bosses, top executives, and investors in the shadow banking system are also the most concentrated group of CCP second-generation Reds and official second-generation. In relative terms, this group has a more significant impact on social and political matters. Currently, the CCP attributes all responsibility to P2P platform tycoons. In the past 2 months, several major cases in China's internet finance industry have been sentenced, with several miraculous rising stars in P2P online lending being sentenced to life imprisonment. If the shadow banking system encounters significant problems, it means this group is in trouble. With no money left, some people may fight desperately. Therefore, the financial professional predicts that in the next year or two, there may be some unexpected political events in China, which may surprise everyone. Capital flight, financial depletion, and a resurgence of regional separatism akin to the late Qing dynasty. Mr. Wu Jialong, Taiwan's prominent economist, conveyed in the Elite Forum that Moody's recent downgrade of China's sovereign wealth credit rating, encompassing Hong Kong and Macau, along with the subsequent downgrading of ratings for 8 financial institutions, holds significant implications. In this industry, Moody's primary role is to establish its own credit. Failing to provide early signals to clients in the face of potential severe issues in China's future economy would denote incompetence. Thus, Moody's is currently challenging the Chinese government. The purpose is evident, and the resolute signal is clear. Consequently, all investors, major investment entities, European and American funds, referencing Moody's credit ratings will start adjusting, leading to a substantial withdrawal of funds from China. Moody's rating for China at this juncture symbolizes a pivotal milestone. Prior to this, Western capital consistently flowed into China, henceforth, it will steadily withdraw. If incoming funds cease, those already invested will hasten their exit as they won't find buyers later. This creates a vicious cycle, signifying the entire Western financial sector's withdrawal from China, extending beyond the issues of 1 or 2 banks. The worsening overall financial environment in China involves substantial foreign investments and financial capital. Foreign investment materializes in 2 forms: direct investment, entailing establishing factories and opening stores, and financial investment, encompassing the purchase of Chinese investment products. It is now evident that foreign capital is retracting. Not only is direct investment in manufacturing and services diminishing, but financial capital is also receding, primarily through Hong Kong and Shanghai. The parallel decrease in overall fund levels indicates that an issue in one area corresponds to an issue elsewhere. The Huaxia Bank case illustrates the broader macro environment, depicting a contracting financial landscape. A key reason is the withdrawal of Western financial capital from China. As overall fund levels decrease, it becomes apparent that while disguised Ponzi schemes could persist during an ascending economy, they falter when the funds diminish. The trick of using later funds to meet the returns of previous investors can no longer be sustained. As funds from behind fail to arrive, issues from the front will inevitably surface. The initial casualty of fund outflows from China is expected to be the real estate sector, serving as an intermediary between the financial sector and the real economy. A surplus of funds flows into real estate, acting as a point of investment. The real economy, spanning from building materials to engineering units, rental agencies, and home appliances, all connected in a vast chain, is dependent on real estate's intermediary role. As funds begin to dwindle, issues will manifest in this crucial area. Following the real estate crisis, local fiscal revenue diminishes, compensation becomes unattainable, and local finance resorts to seeking funds from the central government. Unfortunately, the central government lacks the ability to facilitate transfer payments. Hence, the fundamental cause of China's financial crisis is fiscal. Essentially, after sustaining finance for 2 decades using real estate, the issue has reverted to a fiscal problem. The local fiscal crisis is expanding as localities resort to indirect taxation and fund acquisition. For instance, trucks passing through highways are fined for overweight, exemplifying various means employed for fund acquisition. If these measures prove unsustainable, it may lead to localities acting independently, potentially evolving into a new era of regional separatism reminiscent of the late Qing dynasty. Each locality would have to find means to generate funds to maintain its civil service, creating a situation where local governments, no longer adhering to the central government's directives, gain strength, potentially leading to economic separatism. Mr. Wu Jiaolong asserts that China's financial challenges and the underlying debt crisis are fundamentally fiscal problems. As we've reported before, rumors suggest that Xi Jinping plans to compel the second generation of elites to relinquish wealth, indicating a continuous harvest. If major corporations, foreign capital, and overseas investors evade harvest, attention will likely shift to the second generation of elites. Thus, behind the apparent issues within financial institutions lies an inherent fiscal predicament. Senior editor and lead writer Shan from the Epoch Times expressed in the Elite Forum that the ongoing economic crisis in China evokes a sense of an economic perfect storm, where all factors converge towards a singular objective: collapse, a steep and cliff-like breakdown. The imminent significant economic collapse is anticipated to catalyze a political upheaval. China, with its politics and economy intricately interwoven in such a structure, seems tightly bound together with iron chains, forming a system where the overall situation appears extraordinarily and exceptionally alarming. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.